We had the Torah given to us on Mount Sinai, and in order to continue it, we have to continue to learn it every single day, the whole day.
At an ultra-orthodox seminary near Tel Aviv, men study their holy text, a long way from the front line of the war in Gaza.
What we're doing is the main service of our people. When we go into war, there's part of the nation that do fighting and part of the nation that sit on the tools praying for the success of the whole nation.
About 20 minutes down the road, young men arrive at a military draft centre, not to sign up, but to seek exemptions.
זה התופס שכרגע לא אושר. הרי אני לא מתגייס בגלל שאני מאמין במשהו מסוים, ואם מישהו אחר לא מאמין בזה, אין לי דרך להגיד לו למה אני לא מתגייס. אני מבין את הכאב שלו ואני מבין את העצב שלו, כי הוא שולח ילדים לצבא והוא לא מבין למה אני לא מתגייס. עכשיו, כשאני אומר לו את התשובה שלי, הוא לא מאמין בזה.
Mandatory military service has long been a central pillar of Israel's national security and national identity. But until now, ultra-orthodox men have been able to avoid it.
אני אומר אבל שכל אחד יעשה מה שלי בחפץ. אף אחד לא אומרים לו שום דבר. מי שרוצה ללכת לצבא ילך, מי שרוצה ללמוד שילמד, ומי שרוצה לעבודה שיעבוד. כל אחד יעשה מה שלי בחפץ.
The exemption is as old as Israel itself, when, in the wake of the Holocaust, protecting religious scholars was considered important to the new Jewish state. As well as the exemption, Israel would provide ultra-Orthodox men with a stipend to study the Torah. At the time, it only applied to around 400 students. 75 years later, thanks to skyrocketing birth rates in the ultra-Orthodox community, they now make up almost a quarter of enlistment-age men. Long simmering tensions have boiled over since Israel's war in Gaza sparked a mass mobilisation of reserve soldiers who are now in short supply.
2,000 איש בשנה. כרגע יש כביכול 200,000 לומדי תורה שמגינים על עם ישראל. וגם ב7 באוקטובר כולנו ראינו מה שווה ההגנה הרוחנית. כשצה"ל לא הגיע, וגם צבא השם לא הגיע, כמו שהם קוראים לזה.
For these mothers, it's not just a matter of military need, it's about who serves the country and who the country serves. Today, they're celebrating a win, an interim court ruling that will end state funding for ultra-Orthodox students who don't serve in the army.
והחל מהיום אין לאף אחד פטור ואין תקציבים, והחל מהיום כולם חייבים בגיוס במדינת ישראל.
Israelis are no longer willing to tolerate this discrepancy between a part of the population that is doing so much, both in the security front and the economic front, and such a huge part of the population that is virtually doing nothing.
Yochanan Plesner is the head of think tank the Israel Democracy Institute and a former member of the country's parliament called the Knesset. In 2012, he was part of a committee tasked by Benjamin Netanyahu to draft legislation that would draw more ultra-Orthodox men into the military.
The day before we published the blueprint of our recommendations, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who was then Prime Minister as well, dismantled the committee because of his political commitment to the ultra-Orthodox parties. As a result, we pulled out of the coalition and there was an early election around that issue. It was 12 years ago. And now we're pretty much in a new incarnation of the same issue with many similarities.
While ultra-Orthodox leaders say the matter threatens their way of life, it's also become an existential issue for Benjamin Netanyahu. If his fragile coalition falls apart, he'd likely lose the next election, which Benny Gantz, his main rival and war cabinet member, wants held in September.
This is by far the most challenging political crisis that he's dealing with at this point and for the upcoming few months. It really puts him at a collision course with his own voters, with his own constituency, and as a result, potentially with some of his own faction members as well.
The debate has spilled into the streets of Israel, with growing frustration on both sides.
Thousands of us get up in the middle of the night and daven for the soldiers. If not for that, there would have been much, much more losses on our side.
The ultra-orthodox community is the fastest growing sector of Israel's population. They've also got a staggeringly high unemployment rate. Almost half of the community's men don't work.
It's a huge and growing community in Israel that does not participate in the labor market, and joining military service at a young enough age is actually a tunnel or an entry point into Israeli economy, Israeli society. So essentially, it's a way to integrate this huge community.
Well, this feels like a very divided place right now. While Israel continues to fight its war against Hamas in Gaza, it's also facing these growing internal divisions. There's frustration, anger, resentment, and people are turning on the government and each other.
There are people that, despite everything, they're interested in making provocative confrontations. And despite that, we do not hate them. We love them. We pray for their well-being, and we learn for their well-being.
כי אנחנו פה, ואנחנו נדאג שלא יגיעו כספים, ואנחנו נדאג שכולם יתגייסו, וגם אם צריך ללכת לבקו"ם, וגם אם צריך ללכת לישיבות, וגם אם צריך ללכת לכנסת. זה לא שסיימנו, רק התחלנו.